Okay, let's just get right into it. For the last couple of years, there's been this one giant, looming question hanging over the head of every single person who writes code. Is AI coming for my job? And look, it's a fair question, especially with some of the headlines we've all been seeing.
I mean, this was the prediction that really lit the fire. Back in 2023, you had tech CEOs confidently saying that AI would replace 80% of developers by 2025. This wasn't some random blog post. This was coming from the top, and it was everywhere.
And the reaction? It was instant. People freaked out. Developers, students just learning to code, everyone suddenly started wondering if they were making a huge mistake. Careers that felt totally solid one day suddenly felt, well, incredibly shaky.
But here's the twist. Here's where the story gets really weird. As we actually moved through 2024 and into 2025, the exact opposite happened. Companies didn't fire developers, they hired more than ever before. So what on earth happened? Why was that prediction so spectacularly wrong? That's what we're going to unpack right now.
And honestly, there's no better case study for this whole cycle of hype versus reality than the launch of a tool called Devin. It was marketed as the world's first AI software engineer.
The timeline here is just wild. So March 2024, Devin launches. Literally days later, social media is in full-on apocalypse mode. You know the takes. Developers are done, time to learn plumbing. But then, just a few months later, something funny happened. As real teams tried to use it on their actual, messy, real-world projects, the hype just completely evaporated.
So why did everyone hit the panic button in the first place? Well, because that initial demo was insane. I mean, it looked like it could do everything a junior developer does. It was planning features, writing the code, running tests, deploying applications. It was even solving real open issues on GitHub and passing engineering interviews. It looked like the real deal.
But then, reality set in. See, Devin, just like every other AI tool, works great in a perfect, clean demo environment. But the second you throw it at a real production code base, we're talking hundreds of thousands of lines of code, years of weird legacy decisions, vague business rules, and documentation that's half-finished at best. It just fell apart. And this wasn't because the AI was bad, it was because everyone had misunderstood what the job of a developer actually is.
And this gets to the absolute core of why those predictions were so wrong. Most people think software development is about typing code. It's not. That's actually the easy part. The truly hard part is everything around the code. And it's in these three key areas where AI just consistently faceplants.
Okay, first up is something we can call the context wall. You see, an AI has what's called a context window, which is kind of like its short-term memory. It can build you a simple to-do app because it can hold that entire little project in its head. But a real-world system with hundreds of files and years of history, it literally cannot hold the whole picture at once. It's like trying to understand a 1,000-page novel by only looking at one sentence at a time.
And the consequences of hitting that wall are severe. You ask it to change one little thing that touches a dozen different files, and it completely forgets a critical detail from file number 3. It introduces bugs, it breaks features that were working perfectly fine yesterday, and yeah, it can even cause major security incidents in production. This isn't theoretical, this is happening out in the wild. And the cost of this? It is staggering. A recent study looked at over 150 million lines of code and found that code generated by AI led to a doubling of code churn. What that means is developers were spending twice as much time fixing, rewriting, and rolling back the very code the AI was supposed to be helping them with.
But you know, the context wall isn't even the biggest problem. The real killer is what I call the requirements trap. AI is very literal. It does exactly what you tell it to do. But here's the dirty little secret of software development. Humans, clients, users, you, me, we almost never know exactly what we want at the beginning.
Let's walk through this classic example. A client says, hey, we need a payment system. An AI might spit out a simple buy now button. But a human developer? Their brain immediately starts firing off questions. Okay, what about refunds? Subscriptions? What currencies do we need? How do we handle fraud? Taxes? All of a sudden, that one simple sentence explodes into 50 unstated business rules the AI would have completely missed.
And this quote? This is a real quote from a client after a developer had already spent 2 weeks building what they asked for. The most critical pieces of the puzzle only came out once the client saw something they could react to. A developer's job isn't just to write code, it's to be a detective, to ask the questions that nobody else is even thinking about.
And that leads us right into our third and final reality. judgment. Every single line of code you write isn't just a technical instruction. It's a business decision. It's a constant, delicate balancing act between competing priorities that an AI right now simply can't grasp.
And this right here is where the human element is irreplaceable. AI can't make these calls. Do we write this code super fast to hit a deadline, or do we make it more readable for the future? Do we put a quick patch on this bug, or do we refactor it the right way? An AI doesn't know your team's skill level. It doesn't know your budget or your deadline. It can't feel the future pain of a bad architectural decision. A senior developer can.
So if AI isn't a replacement, what is it? Well, the best way to think about it, the analogy that really clicks, is as a power tool. It doesn't replace the craftsperson, it just makes them way more effective.
Think about it like this. Before power tools, a carpenter used a hand drill. It worked, but it was slow. When the power drill was invented, did all the carpenters go out of business? Of course not. It just made the good ones incredibly fast and efficient.
It's the exact same thing for developers. AI is the power drill for coding. It absolutely destroys all the tedious, repetitive work, writing boiler code, generating database schemas, setting up test files. It can turn hours of mind-numbing manual work into minutes. But the developer? They're still the carpenter, guiding the tool and making the critical decisions. And the data completely backs this up. Study after study shows that developers who really learn how to use these AI tools are about 35% more productive. That's not replacement, that is multiplication. You're taking a skilled professional and you're multiplying their output.
So what does all this mean for the future? Well, developer jobs aren't going away. They're evolving. The skills that matter most are shifting away from the mechanical act of just typing code and moving toward much higher-level thinking.
Just look at this comparison. On the left, you've got the stuff that's being commoditized by AI, knowing the perfect syntax by heart, typing out boilerplate. What matters more than ever is everything on the right. Big picture systems thinking, designing good architecture, asking those tough questions, and making smart trade-offs when the pressure's on. In a world where anyone can generate code, the person who truly understands the system becomes priceless.
And that really brings us to the final crucial takeaway here. The whole panic was based on a misunderstanding of what the job is. Software development was never about typing, it has always been about problem solving. So the real conflict isn't AI versus developers, it's developers who master these new power tools versus the developers who don't. The only question left is, which one of those are you going to be?
Before you head out, let me leave you with a small ask. If this video made your .NET brain spark even a little, hit that like button. It takes you 1 second.